After 3 years of marriage, Arthur suddenly recovered his memories. He told me he was Silas, the eldest son of the Marquis of Northridge, and that he already had a wife back home. I didn't refuse his request to return to the capital with him, but when he stood hesitating before his first wife, I denied our relationship. "My lord, since you have found your family, it is time to settle the payment you promised me." Under his incredulous gaze, I turned and left with a thick stack of silver notes. Are you kidding me? I've found at least 8, if not 10, men just like him. The new one I picked up is not only handsomer but also younger. I was just looking for an excuse to get rid of him. Arthur has been acting strangely lately, always sitting at our doorstep, staring blankly in the direction of the capital. For 3 years of marriage, he put me first in everything and never lied. Now he has learned to keep secrets from me. But I can't really blame him. Anyone would need time to digest 3 years of lost memories suddenly returning. 3 years ago, I was gathering herbs in the mountains when I found him, heavily injured, at the bottom of a cliff. When he woke up, he couldn't remember who he was, his name, or where he was from. Seeing how handsome he was, I took him in. He had a jade pendant engraved with an N's at his waist, so I gave him the name Arthur. A year later, we were married. He was handsome, with an air that was anything but ordinary. I worried he might be the son of a wealthy family, perhaps already married. So, in my spare time, besides helping him regain his memory, I took his jade pendant and made inquiries everywhere, but to no avail. Eventually, I thought, perhaps this was fate. He was so gravely injured when we first met, whoever hurt him must have hated him deeply. Now that he had forgotten everything and was happy with me, it was better if he never remembered. And so, I agreed to marry him. We were very happy for 3 years. He was intelligent and a quick learner. My mother was a doctor, so I knew some medicine from a young age. After she passed, I made a living by gathering herbs and treating the sick. With Arthur around, my life became much easier. 3 years flew by. Just when I thought we would spend the rest of our lives like this, his memory returned. That night, he finally decided to confess. "Arya, I remember. I am Silas, the eldest son of the Marquis of Northridge. 3 years ago, I was ordered to London to quell a bandit uprising. Betrayed by a spy in my own ranks, I was severely wounded and cornered at a cliff's edge. I had no choice but to jump to survive. Arya, I have to go back to the capital." I nodded, my eyes showing no surprise. "Your family is in the capital. You should go back." He unclenched his fists and asked hesitantly, "Arya, would you be willing to come with me?" I tilted my head. "Do you want me to?" "Arthur, you are a nobleman from the capital, and I am just a humble physician from London. Besides, I don't like being lied to. If you are in a difficult position, I won't cling to you. We can end things here and cherish the bond we had for these 3 years." He shot to his feet, his voice urgent. No, Arya. You are the best woman in the world. My family will surely love you." After he said that, I saw a flicker of hesitation and guilt in his eyes again. I sighed. "Then let's pick a day and set off." The return of the young lord brought joy to the entire marquisate of Northridge. It was only when I stepped into the estate with Silas that I finally understood the reason for his hesitation and guilt along the journey. He already had a wife. The serene and elegant woman nearly stumbled when she saw Silas, her joy overflowing. But when she saw me behind him, that joy froze on her face. Silas looked uncomfortable but still called her name softly. Eleanor. Eleanor. Even her name was gentle and beautiful. Upon hearing Silas's voice, the woman named Eleanor quickly composed herself. She stepped forward and curtsied to Silas. "Husband." Then, her gaze fell on me, probing. "Husband, may I ask who this young lady is?" Silas stepped aside, his voice tinged with guilt. "Her name is Arya. She is. I am the one who saved Lord Silas's life." I cut Silas off and smiled at Eleanor. "Greetings, my lady. My name is Arya. I am a physician from London. 3 years ago, I happened to save Lord Silas at the bottom of a cliff. He brought me to the capital as a way of repaying my kindness. Hearing my words, Eleanor visibly relaxed. She took 2 steps closer and bowed deeply to me. Thank you, miss, for saving my husband's life. Whatever you desire, I will be sure to grant it. I didn't look at Silas's expression, just waved my hand at Eleanor. Then I looked at Silas. Lord Silas, since you have found your family, it is time to settle the payment you promised me. Before Silas could speak, Eleanor nodded. Of course. You saved my husband's life, which is a great kindness to our house. You may have as much as you wish. How about this? In addition to the 10,000 silver notes from the marquisate, I will also give you 2 of my shops for my dowry. I hope you will accept them, Miss Arya. 10,000 silver notes? And shops? Good heavens. I've struck it rich. At that moment, I had no time to care about Silas's feelings. My mind was filled with the thought of becoming the first female tycoon of Linden. I never thought this Silas was worth so much. This trip to the capital was truly worth it. I had no intention of staying long at the Marquise's estate. After taking the silver notes and deeds, I prepared to leave. But Silas chased after me. Arya. I sighed and turned to face him. What is it? The man before me had shed his faded linen shirt for a magnificent robe of cloud silk brocade, making him look even more handsome, but I was in no mood to admire him, because Silas was looking at me with an expression of hurt and disbelief, as if I were the heartless villain. Why did you deny our relationship just now? I scoffed. What else was I supposed to do? Tell your wife in front of her that you betrayed her during your amnesia and took a new wife. Silas, don't you dare push your luck. What I did was to save face for everyone and avoid making things difficult. I told you long ago that I don't like being lied to. You should be grateful I didn't make a scene. He frowned, disagreeing. That is not it. When I brought you to the capital, I intended to make things clear to them. You are married to me, you are my wife, and I will give you a proper place. Arya, please, trust me. I tilted my head and walked a few steps closer to him. Eleanor is also your lawfully wedded wife. So, what do you plan to do? A flicker of hesitation crossed his eyes before he spoke with determination. Arya, trust me, I can resolve this. My marriage to Eleanor was arranged by our parents. There are no feelings between us. I will make it clear to her. After you join the household, she will not be above you. I laughed in exasperation. Silas, are you asking me to be your concubine? My words hit their mark, and a look of shame crossed his face. Arya, Eleanor is the daughter of the Prime Minister. Moreover, she waited for me for 3 years. I cannot be so ungrateful as to cast her aside. I found this amusing. I never asked you to cast her aside. He frowned, his gaze falling on the bundle in my hands. Then why are you leaving with the money? I spread my hands, shrugging in confusion. What does my leaving have to do with whether you cast her aside or not? Silas, don't forget, I am the one who saved your life, and now you are asking me to be your concubine. You don't call that ungrateful? Face paled instantly. But Arya, you are already married to me, as a woman. Where can you go without me? Besides, I am just a common girl with no background, more than good enough to be the concubine of the Marquis of Northridge's heir. Is that it? I sneered. I, Arya, was only Arthur's wife. I have nothing to do with Silas. You are Silas, not Arthur. His face went white. Arya, I am already trying to find a way to make this work for everyone. Why can't you understand me? I never realized he was such a drama queen. There was no point in talking further. It was a waste of time. I pointed behind him, my face expressionless. Your wife is here. Hearing this, Silas immediately turned around, looking nervous. Are you kidding me? Men like him? I've picked up at least 8, if not 10. Be his concubine. Who does he think he is? Besides, the new young man I found is not only handsomer but also younger. More importantly, he doesn't have that pesky amnesia. I was just looking for an excuse to get rid of him, and now, 3 years of my time in exchange for all this money and property. It was worth it. The young man is quite clingy. I need to get back to Linden quickly. With that thought, I hurried onto the carriage I had already hired. But just as the carriage reached the city outskirts, it was stopped. A woman in a crimson dress, supported by a maid, alighted from her carriage and walked straight towards me. Miss Arya. Eleanor stood before me, offering a graceful smile. I frowned. What is the meaning of this, my lady? Unlike the gentlewoman I saw at the estate, Eleanor now exuded an air of pride. Your relationship with my husband must be more than just savior and saved, isn't it? A hint of caution entered my eyes. My lady, as a woman yourself, you should know the damage such words can do to an innocent woman's reputation. Eleanor smiled dismissively. Does Miss Arya have time to listen to a story? I remained silent. Eleanor began to speak regardless. I come from the Prime Minister's house and grew up with Silas. To be a fitting wife for the heir of Northridge, I practiced the zither, chess, calligraphy, painting, poetry, and etiquette from a young age. After marrying into the marquisate, I paid my respects to my in-laws every day, managed the household, and was a dutiful wife. When news of Silas's death reached us, my mother-in-law fell ill. The few who returned from the bandit uprising slandered Silas's name. So, his death brought no glory, only a case without evidence, and the marquisate became a target for the emperor's wrath. But I didn't believe it. I didn't believe the noble, calm, and humble Silas I remembered would be so impulsive. I didn't believe he would die like that. For these past few years, I have worked hard to protect this house, to protect our home. Seeing her growing emotional, I interrupted. What are you trying to say? Eleanor paused, then stepped forward and took my hand. Miss Arya, I am truly grateful that you saved Silas's life, and I can see that he cares for you deeply. Now that he has returned, nothing else matters. So whatever happened between you in those 3 years, it was fate. A consequence we must all bear. If you don't mind, I am willing to serve our husband alongside you, with no distinction between us. I snatched my hand back without hesitation and said, word for word, thank you for the kind offer, my lady. But as a common physician, I am not worthy of sharing a husband with the Prime Minister's daughter. After today, I will have no further connection with Silas, the heir of the Marquis of Northridge. Furthermore, I have one more thing to say to you, my lady. 6 years ago, I had the fortune of reading The Tale of the Solitary Cloud by Master Nimbus. The discussion on water diversion was particularly brilliant. I tested the theory in my medicinal fields, and it succeeded on the first try. My lady, beyond these 4 walls, there is a whole world. You know of this. Eleanor was stunned for a moment. Then she took 2 steps back and bowed. I was shallow to have underestimated you, miss. I was presumptuous today. In that case, I wish you a future as vast as the mountains and rivers, and may all your wishes come true. But please, I must ask you to keep your promise. After leaving the capital today, you will be a stranger to the House of Northridge and to Silas. Also here, Eleanor hesitated before speaking with determination. Also, for your journey, it would be best to hire some skilled martial artists. In the Empire, a man could take a wife and concubines, but having 2 official wives was the crime of bigamy. This was especially true for noble families who valued their reputation. The Marquisate of Northridge was already in a precarious position in the Emperor's eyes. Silas's safe return was their hope for a revival, and his reputation could not be tarnished. Now that I refused to be a concubine, I was a hidden threat in their eyes. I understood instantly. On this journey back, there would be people who did not want me to arrive alive. After parting with Eleanor, I didn't leave immediately, nor did I follow her advice to return to the city and hire guards. The leaves in a nearby forest rustled. I stood where I was and rolled my eyes. Are you coming out or not? As soon as I spoke, a familiar figure emerged from the woods. Sister, it really is you. Leo Linden is 1,000 miles from here. How did you follow me? Leo walked towards me. He was dressed in black martial attire, a white jade belt cinching his lean waist. He was tall and slender, his face as handsome as a painting. He exuded a cold aura that warned strangers away, but right now his eyes were filled with a look of grievance. Sister, I told you Arthur was lying to you. I stepped closer, placing my hand on his chest. He deceived me, but haven't you deceived me as well? You knew who he was from the beginning, didn't you? And, Leo, you won't even tell me who you are. What right do you have to accuse others? I must say, Linden is a magical place. Handsome, heavily injured young men are always falling from the sky there. Silas was one, and so was Leo Today. I have found 8 heavily injured men in the mountains near Linden. Silas wasn't the first, and Leo won't be the last. I am not a saint with a bleeding heart, but I wouldn't leave someone to die. But for a single woman like me to be constantly taking men home, anyone would find it strange. People might think I was up to no good. I don't care about my reputation, but I won't tarnish it recklessly. So, leaving behind some medicine and food was the extent of my charity. Silas was the first man I ever brought home to treat. Of course, I absolutely deny that his good looks had anything to do with it. Mainly, Silas was completely unconscious at the time. Without immediate medical care, he would have died. Leo was different. He latched onto me himself. I had been married to Arthur for 2 years when I found him. At that time, Arthur, while obedient, was also quite jealous. The first time Arthur saw Leo, he was instantly hostile. Leo's expression, however, was complex, as if surprised to see Arthur there. I realized then that he might have known Arthur before his amnesia, the real Silas. I had a small cave in the mountains where I would sometimes stay while gathering herbs. I initially sheltered Leo there, but after he recovered, he refused to leave, often coming to my house to help with chores, much to Arthur's daily annoyance. Perhaps, even back then, Leo was already setting his plan in motion. Leo played a significant role in Silas's memory recovery. Sister, I just want to protect you. Leo reached out and gently tugged on my sleeve. Silas and the daughter of the Song family have been betrothed since childhood. They grew up together and were very close. So when I saw him like that, I thought I had mistaken him for someone else. That is why I didn't dare tell you right away. But I was still worried, so I deliberately mentioned people and events from his past in front of him, and he reacted. Only then was I sure that Arthur was indeed Silas, the heir of Northridge who had been missing and presumed dead. I pulled my sleeve from his grasp and smiled at him. You seem to know a lot about the noble families of the capital. So who are you? Leo froze, his expression turning guilty. After a moment he lowered his head and said nothing. No wonder my mother said never to pick up a man from the roadside. They're all either amnesiacs or schemers. It doesn't matter if he won't say. I don't want to know anyway. After all, from the very beginning, it was never their hearts I was after. I scoffed. Since you won't speak and won't leave, then it is time to repay my kindness. He immediately looked up. Sister, whatever you want me to do, just say the word. I walked towards the carriage and gave the driver some silver. After the driver left, I took the reins and beckoned to Leo. From what Eleanor said, someone doesn't want me to return to Linden alive. In that case, I won't go back. Leo, for the time being, I need you to protect me in the capital. Can you do that? Leo walked over without hesitation. As long as I am here, no one can harm you, sister. From now on, I am at your command. I would walk through fire for you. I'll be waiting to see that. At that, I climbed into the carriage without a backward glance. Leo, whoever you are, by following me, you have made your choice. I never intended to leave the capital just like that, and I never wanted to enter the house of Northridge. My mother used to say, don't just pick up any man from the roadside, and even if you do, never gamble an uncertain future for a moment of pleasure. So, whether Silas was married or not, I would never have compromised for him. I came to the capital with him for one reason only: my own story. My mother was a physician in Linden. My biological father was a man she picked up. My mother never shied away from talking about my father. Before she died, she told me that if I wanted to, I should go and claim what was rightfully mine. Arya, though I resent him, love is never the fault of just one person. We were simply not right for each other. Compared to me, he had more important things to do, and I couldn't hold him back. Besides, your mother doesn't like a life where one's life is always on the line. But you are different. He is your biological father, so you deserve a share of what he has. But if you don't want to, then you can live a carefree life here in Linden. All your mother wishes for you is a life of happiness and peace." My mother probably never imagined that such a dramatic story would repeat itself with me. My father, like Silas, fell from a cliff and lost his memory. My mother, however, was not as kind-hearted as I was. She intended to leave him to die, but, as she took a step forward, my father, as if sensing her intention, grabbed her ankle. She never knew where a dying man got such strength, but she couldn't break free. Helpless, she knelt and checked his pulse. "Let go, and I'll save you." At her words, my father immediately released her. Because he was well-dressed, my mother guessed he was a nobleman, and planned to extort a hefty sum from his family once she found them. But when my father woke up, he remembered nothing. No, he remembered his male instincts. He fell in love with my mother at first sight. After 6 months of relentless pursuit, and because he was incredibly handsome, my mother married him. But not long after, a group of men in black armed with swords came to Linden, searching for someone. My mother sensed something was wrong. She feared they were looking for my father. She rushed home to hide him, but at her doorstep, she saw a group of men kneeling before him. From my mother's description, that was the first time she saw who my father truly was. Noble and aloof, looking down on everyone, as if nothing in the world could stir his emotions, including my mother. Seeing his indifferent and slightly impatient expression, my mother's composure broke. In a fit of anger, she threw them all out. Afterwards, she told me countless times how she regretted not demanding more money, or I wouldn't have had to live in poverty as a child. I was curious about whether my mother truly knew my father. My mother's playful demeanor vanished, and she smiled at me, gentle and firm. "Arya, remember this. Your father is the most noble man in this world. Therefore, you are the most noble lady in this world. No one is worthy of betraying you." I knew then that my father was the man who stood at the very pinnacle of this world. I took Leo to a house I had rented in advance. Then, with a grand wave of my hand, I gave him 5 silver notes. "Hire some guards and a cook for me. Since I am in the capital, I might as well live a life of luxury. Besides, if I am too low-key, how will he ever find me?" Leo didn't take my money but quietly found the people for me. I put the silver notes away, unconcerned. I offered the money. He refused it. He can't blame me later. I didn't deliberately hide my presence, so there were always some uninvited guests in the middle of the night. And these guests were always dealt with quietly by Leo, seeing that they couldn't easily kill me. The House of Northridge tried a different approach. When I saw Eleanor again, she looked much worse, but her eyes were sharp. "Miss Arya, you owe me an explanation." I stood up, feeling impatient. "Lady Eleanor, my promise to you was that I would have no further connection with Silas, the heir of Northridge. I am staying in the capital for my own reasons, which have nothing to do with your house. The marquisate is overstepping its bounds." Eleanor shook her head, her expression becoming urgent. "Miss Arya, the capital is not like Linden. You will be in danger if you stay here. Take my advice. Leave this place. Go as far as you can. Live the life you were meant to live." I knew Eleanor was genuinely concerned for me. If I didn't leave soon, not only the Marquis of Northridge but also her father, the Prime Minister, would likely not let me be. The two families were bound together, for better or for worse. But I had done nothing wrong. I shouldn't be the only one to bear the consequences. Besides, I don't believe he would stand by and watch me be killed right under his nose. But this world is truly unfair. The life of a commoner is worth less than the reputation of the powerful. What did kindness matter? Even though I had been more than accommodating in their eyes, it was expected. After all, for a common physician like me, saving Silas was the fortune of 8 lifetimes. But why? I looked at Eleanor. "Lady Eleanor, if you don't mind, please call me Arya." Seeing my calm demeanor, Eleanor sighed. "I am 2 years your senior, Arya. If you wish, you may call me Sister Eleanor." "Sister Eleanor," I quickly replied with a smile. Don't worry, Sister Eleanor. I will be fine. Besides, if someone truly wants me dead, I am safer here in the capital. Eleanor's expression grew bitter. Arya, do you really not want to know how Silas is doing? He has been kneeling in the ancestral hall for 3 days and 3 nights, begging his father to formally ask for your hand in marriage. I didn't respond to that. Instead, I took 2 steps closer and asked, Sister Eleanor, do you truly love Silas? Eleanor was taken aback for a moment, then lowered her head. He is my husband. It is my duty to do what is right for him. I looked at her, a sudden wave of frustration washing over me. Sister, you are a woman of great talent, yet you are willing to hide your brilliance and confine yourself to the inner courtyard, and now you have to clean up your husband's mess. Are you truly content with this? Eleanor's face grew paler. Content or not, what does it matter? Silas and I grew up together. Before you, we had happy days. It can only be said that fate is cruel. I don't blame you, and I can't blame him. Besides, I am the Prime Minister's daughter. I carry the weight of my family on my shoulders. I cannot abandon my sister's reputations for my own happiness or sorrow. I clenched my fists, annoyed. Sister, would you be willing to make a bet with me? What kind of bet? You are willing to sacrifice everything for your family. In return, don't you want to see if this family, so important to you, will fight for your happiness? What do I need to do? You don't need to do anything, sister. Just go along with the Marquise's family and despise me with all your heart. After sending Eleanor off, I immediately found Leo. The Grand Princess's birthday banquet is in a few days. Take me there. I know you can. If you are not willing, then get out of my sight right now. At the Grand Princess's banquet, I entered the residence openly with Leo. The moment they saw me, the faces of the Marquise's family turned dark, but they dared not make a scene in public. Besides their reputation, the bigger reason was that I had come with Leo. And I finally confirmed Leo's identity. He was the youngest son of Duke Xiao. Of noble birth, skilled in martial arts, with a carefree personality. With his father and older brother above him, he could do nothing and still live a life of ease. As for why he appeared 1,000 miles away in Linden, so heavily injured, I would have to ask him, or that man. With Leo by my side, no one dared to trouble me, but Leo couldn't stay with me forever. In the garden, a group of noble ladies blocked my path. Are you the physician who saved the heir of Northridge? Look at how she is dressed. It must be her. Sister Eleanor already gave you so much money. Why are you still here? I think she is trying to use his kindness to climb the social ladder. Lord Silas and Sister Eleanor are childhood sweethearts, deeply in love. How could there be room for her? Now that the Marquisate seems to be losing favor, she is latched onto Lord Leo, so shameless, a commoner from the countryside, with no sense of propriety. Ladies, be careful with your words. Before I could speak, an older woman approached, cutting them off. Greetings, Lady Chow. The woman seemed to hold some status. The noble ladies fell silent and bowed. Lady Chow glanced around, frowning slightly. You are all ladies from noble houses, not gossips in the marketplace. Do you not understand that words can bring disaster? Then she turned to me, a hint of respect in her eyes. Miss Arya, the Grand Princess requests your presence. I curtsied slightly. Please lead the way. In a private chamber in the rear courtyard, I pushed open the door but did not see the Grand Princess. A man in a purple robe stood with his back to me, his figure tall and imposing. I paused, then took a few steps closer. Hearing my footsteps, he turned to look at me. His eyes were deep, his demeanor gentle and scholarly. That was my first impression of him, not at all like the arrogant man my mother had described. He looked me up and down, then smiled warmly. You resemble me more than your mother. I said nothing, just looked at him. Didn't you want to see me? Now that you have, why are you silent? I shook my head. I just wanted to see. See what? See what the man my mother cursed for a lifetime looks like, and see what kind of man repeatedly throws other men at me, and what he is thinking. He burst out laughing. Was it that obvious? I silently rolled my eyes. The purpose was a little too obvious, as if Linden is some sacred ground that makes noblemen jump off cliffs every day. He didn't deny it, simply sat down at the table. "Did you find one you like?" I sat down across from him and poured a cup of water. "You are asking the obvious." He chuckled and took the cup I offered, taking a small sip. "The Xiaoboy, or the one from the Shen family," I pouted. "If I had liked Silas, there wouldn't have been a Leo in the others, would there?" His smile faded, and his brow furrowed slightly. "From what I know, the Shen boy has already married the Song family's daughter. Besides, he is a bit arrogant, Arya. He is not suitable for you, but he is handsome. I think Leo is more handsome. And he is obedient, isn't he? Who is he?" "The boy who followed you to the capital. He is obedient to you. Hemp, if he were truly obedient to me, he would have dragged you back to Linden long ago." "I am not going back." "Why? The riches of the capital have dazzled me. I want to stay here and enjoy them. Besides, by your logic, the sons of the Yuan, Qin, and Wang families, they're not bad either." He was speechless for a moment, then shook his head helplessly. "You little rascal." I took the jade pendant from my robes and handed it to him. "My mother said I am your daughter, so I deserve a share of what is yours. You are the most noble man in this world, so no one in this world is worthy of betraying me." 3 days later, the emperor issued a decree, announcing to the world that he had found his long-lost daughter and bestowing upon her the title of Princess Anya. He opened the ancestral hall for her and held a ceremony to honor their ancestors. Soon after, a rumor spread through the capital. It was said that the newly found Princess Anya had a past relationship with Silas, the heir of Northridge, during his disappearance. A princess's reputation was sacred and could not be tarnished. And so, the Marquis of Northridge was summoned to the palace in the middle of the night. It was said that when the Marquis emerged from the imperial study, his face was deathly pale. When I visited the Marquis's estate again, I was not alone. Leo stood to my right, and behind me were my father's retinue of palace maids and guards. The entire household of Northridge stood at the entrance, their heads bowed in fear. "We greet your highness, the princess." Dressed in lavish robes, I walked towards them step by step. "You may rise." Only then did they lift their heads and see my face. "Arya," someone in the crowd cried out. I frowned slightly. Before my guards could reprimand them, the Marquis slapped his wife across the face. Insolence. I instantly lost interest. That night my father had merely mentioned the assassination attempts on me after I arrived in the capital, and the Marquis had immediately shifted the blame to his wife. No wonder my father disliked Silas from the moment he appeared by my side. Otherwise, there would have been no other young men. If the foundation is crooked, the house will be too. The house of Northridge was rotten to the core. I looked behind the Marquis. Silas, dressed in white, was as handsome as ever. His eyes were filled with deep affection and excitement as he looked at me. "Arya." I ignored him and looked at Eleanor beside him. She seemed to have lost more weight since we last met. I sighed and turned to Leo behind me. "I am tired." Leo understood and nodded to Eleanor. "Her Highness is new to the capital, and is only familiar with you, my lady. Before the princess's residence is ready, we must trouble you to look after Her Highness." Eleanor curtsied. "I accept the command." I followed Eleanor into the estate. Inside Eleanor's room, I quickly took her hand. "Sister Eleanor." Eleanor gently shook her head. "Your Highness, you must not." I stubbornly held her hand and sat down with her on the couch. "These past few days, have you found your answer, sister?" Eleanor smiled bitterly. "Ever since your identity was revealed, everyone in the capital says that I offended you and brought disaster upon the marquisate and the Prime Minister's house. After being reprimanded by the Emperor, my father-in-law summoned my husband to his study. When my husband returned, he said the Emperor intended for you to marry him. So he asked me to request a divorce and demote myself to a concubine. I was unwilling, so I returned to my family's home the next day. But my father had no intention of seeking justice for me. He gave me two choices. How could the Prime Minister have a divorced or demoted daughter, So, the only options before me were a white silk cord to hang myself or to shave my head and become a nun. Even today, they deliberately made me appear before you, so you could vent your anger on me. I knew they were shameless, but I never imagined they could be so shameless as to do something like this for power. If I were not the Emperor's daughter, I would have been nothing but bones by now. I clenched my fists and looked at Eleanor with determination. Sister Eleanor, you are a woman of great talent. You should not be buried in this quagmire of a courtyard. Whatever you want to do, I will help you. Eleanor smiled at me. Thank you, Your Highness. I have already made up my mind. For too long, I have been the obedient eldest daughter of the Song family, the dignified wife of the heir of Northridge. I have forgotten who I truly am. I wrote, The Tale of the Solitary Cloud, when I was 15. I showed the first draft to my father, but he didn't even look at it, just said I was rebellious and not attending to my proper duties. Later, under the pseudonym Master Nimbus, I had it published. That became the book you know, in all these years. Your Highness, you are the first person to ever mention the theories in my book to me. Your Highness, you have shown me that my life may have other possibilities. Your Highness, I want to divorce Silas. After Eleanor proposed a divorce, the Marquise's family readily agreed. Because my father had once again hinted that he wanted to marry me off as soon as possible. The day Eleanor received the divorce papers, an imperial edict also arrived at the Marquise's estate. It was an edict appointing Eleanor as a female court official. The expectant members of the House of Northridge were stunned, and another imperial edict for a marriage was sent to the Shao family. As my father said, among all the young men, Leo was the most handsome and the most obedient. The old man was getting on in years and wanted to see me find a husband, so I found one. If it doesn't work out, I can always find a reason to change him later. After the marriage edict was announced, Silas quickly came to find me. He looked at me, his eyes filled with disbelief and sorrow. Arya, why? I scoffed. Silas, drop the act, as if everyone owes you something and has betrayed you. Ask yourself, was it really a spy in the army that caused you to fall from the cliff? You were arrogant, impulsive, and hungry for glory. When things went wrong, you couldn't face it. You had recovered your memory long ago, but didn't dare to admit it. If Leo hadn't appeared, you would have continued the charade, wouldn't you? The color drained from Silas's face. He raised his hands, trembling, as if to explain, but then let them fall helplessly. What an act. Before leaving Linden, I gave you a chance. I told you I hate being lied to more than anything. We could have parted on good terms, but you had to push it to this point. Arya, no. I truly love you. Shut up. Is that what you told Sister Eleanor too? When I was a physician, you couldn't bear to part with the Prime Minister's daughter as your official wife, so you pretended to be deeply in love and wanted me as a concubine. Now that I am a princess, you deliberately forced Sister Eleanor to step down so you could marry me. Silas, you want to have your cake and eat it too, but you only know how to blame women for your problems. What a nerve. That day, the entire capital knew that the heir of Northridge had offended Princess Anya and was thrown out by the princess's guards. Not long after, Leo publicly presented evidence of Silas's arrogance and disregard for his soldiers' lives back then. The day Silas was sentenced to exile, I left the capital with Eleanor. Following behind us was my yet-to-be-married fiancé. Eleanor said she wanted to compile a complete geography of the world, so she requested permission from the Emperor to travel and see all the mountains and rivers. I took her hand and smiled. That is perfect. I am a doctor. I should travel the world and heal the sick. Then, I took a golden token from my robes. Besides, my father said I have a talent for fighting for the rights of women. In that case, I might as well put in some effort. Eleanor smiled and tapped my nose, then glanced behind me. And what about him? I shrugged. With his father and older brother, the Shao family doesn't need him. And we happen to need a skilled guard. The mountains and rivers, all the things in the world, we will see them together. Leo's epilogue when I received the mission from the Emperor. I was confused. Who was this young woman? That the emperor was so concerned about her. Whatever, the case of the Marquis of Northridge's heir and the bandit uprising from 3 years ago had fallen into my brother's hands, and it just so happened to be in Linden. Perhaps I could find some clues for my brother. I pretended to be heavily injured and fell from a cliff. To my surprise, the woman named Arya didn't even glance at me as she walked past. Am I not handsome? Am I that unnoticeable? I was unwilling to accept this, so I pretended to have just woken up and called out to her. Miss. She stopped and turned to look at me, her expression seeming to say, I knew it. Only then did I see her face clearly, and I finally understood why the emperor was so concerned. After a while, her gaze made me feel a bit embarrassed. My apologies. Tricking a woman like this was a bit immoral. She sighed and walked over to me. Let's go. With her help, we arrived at a cave. It was simple and a bit cold. This isn't right. Don't the stories say they're supposed to take you home? Am I not handsome enough? I don't believe it. Since she wouldn't take me home, I would find her myself. After I recovered, I quickly found her house, and there, I saw someone I never expected. What surprised me even more was that Arya had married him. A strange anger rose within me. The heir of Northridge was already married to Eleanor, the daughter of the Prime Minister. How dare he marry another woman? And how dare he marry Arya? Who does he think he is? From the looks of it, Arya didn't know the truth, and Silas seemed to have lost his memory. No, I had to test him. And indeed, after a few tests, Silas showed his true colors. If he had amnesia, how could he recognize me? How could he be so concerned about my presence there? Perhaps the survivors from 3 years ago weren't lying. Silas was very hostile towards me, so much so that he began to plot his own recovery of his memories. Arya was a good woman. I couldn't let her be deceived. The night Silas proposed taking her to the capital, I found her and told her the truth. She wasn't very surprised, just said she understood. I was anxious and impulsively grabbed her sleeve. Sister, what is so good about Silas? Look at me. I am not only more handsome than him, I don't have amnesia, and I am not married. She chuckled. In that case, you wait here. Wait, no way. I had to follow. The capital is not a good place. After arriving in the capital, she went with Silas to the Marquis's estate, and I was summoned to the palace by the emperor. The emperor's intention was for me to take her back to Linden as soon as possible, using force if necessary. I agreed on the surface, but didn't act on it. I didn't want to make decisions for her. From the bottom of my heart, I felt she was a strong woman. Strangely, she didn't reveal her past with Silas in front of his family. Instead, she took the money and left. That is it? She is letting him go, watching her head out of the city. I quickly followed. Outside the city gates, I saw Silas's wife, Eleanor, stop her. I tightened my grip on my sword, worried that the Marquis's family meant her harm. But to my surprise, I saw the usually proud Eleanor bow deeply to her. After Eleanor left, she snorted in the direction of my hiding spot in the forest. Are you coming out or not? I walked out silently, my sword in hand. Sister, it really is you. Leo Linden is 1,000 miles from here. How did you follow me? I felt a bit wronged. She was laughing and talking with Eleanor just now. Why was she so cold to me? Sister, I told you Arthur was lying to you. She walked closer, placing her hand on his chest. He deceived me. Haven't you deceived me as well? You knew who he was from the beginning, didn't you? And Leo, you won't even tell me who you are. Me mind started buzzing. Me face grew hot. Leo, you are done for. Your Majesty, I am not coming back. From now on, I am at your command. I would walk through fire for you.